Hello stampers, this is Yana Smakula. Welcome back for another Hero Arts video. In this one, which is a part of the color layering series, we're taking a closer look at the color layering Mountains at the Lake stamp set. This set has been first released as a My Monthly Hero kit in July 2019 and has been voted by you as a favorite My Monthly Hero kit of 2019 in the Hero Arts annual poll, and thus has been re-released in the new 2020 catalog. It is a fantastic set and I'm very happy to see it available in 2020. Join me as I play around with this set and show you how to combine it with other stamps from Hero Arts to make colorful greeting cards. The color layering Mountains at the Lake stamp set has two layering elements. There is a layering forest and a layering mountain, and both of these consist of two layers. So you'll need just two colors of ink to stamp these images, a lighter ink and a darker ink color. When it comes to stamping solid images, I personally love to use Hero Arts Ombre inks as they easily give my solid images additional details. Here, to stamp the base layer of the forest, I'm using Hero Arts Green Ombre ink, this is Lime 2 Forever Green, and stamping it on white cardstock. I've actually stamped this image twice, as I'll need more than one row of trees for the card that I have in mind, and I just flipped my panel to do that. Next, I'm placing the detail layer, and this aligns right along the bottom edge of your first stamped image. I'm using Forever Green ink to stamp the detail layer, and I'm loving the result. Effortless, yet so pretty. I'm also using a misti stamping tool, and I always try to use a stamp positioner when I'm working with the color layering images. Using a misti makes it very easy to have perfect impressions. There are coordinating dies available that will allow you to cut these pretty images out. Now, what I love about these dies, since the die is just a border die, is that you can position the die so that you don't have the white edge to your die cut. I'm sharing two cards today with a very similar layout. One card has die cuts with a white border, and the other card has die cuts without the white border, all made using the same supplies. Sometimes I like my die cuts to have that white border, but sometimes I don't, and here I have the option to go either way with these dies. Here's the negative piece, and you can see that I've actually cut a part of the stamping off to avoid having that white border on my card. And here's the other card that I mentioned where I do have a white border. You can see the difference. Both look great, but you do have the option to cut the elements out with or without the border, depending on the look you prefer. The second layering element in the color layering Mountains at the Lake stamp set is the image of the mountains. This, again, I'm stamping using ombre ink, and this is brown ombre, the soft brown to Copper Joe ink. I'm also using a wet cement ink to stamp another image. Now, I did not clean my stamp, so it has a lot of the residual ink from the brown ombre ink pad, but I've inked it up with wet cement to have a slightly lighter mountain for the card. Because I have residual ink, the bottom of the mountain still looks a little bit darker, as if I used an ombre ink pad here as well. Now, the mountain image can be stamped in a variety of colors. You can use gray and white for a snowy mountain. You can use purples, yellows, or pinks, for example, for mountains covered in pretty flowers. So think outside the box and don't limit the mountain's color just to gray or brown. The detail layer for this image lines up against the top edge, and it is very easy to align. I'm using dark brown, this is Copper Joe ink, to stamp that detail layer. As with the forest, there is a coordinating die available, and I'm using mine to cut the mountains out so that there isn't any white border. What is fantastic about the color layering Mountains at the Lake stamp set that it is a great scene building set. Therefore, it can be easily used or combined with many other stamp sets from Hero Arts. Last month, in the previous color layering episode, I showcased the color layering Tulips stamp set, and I thought it would be perfect to combine the two stamp sets to set a scene for my card. You can see I've already stamped and cut out a field of tulips here, and now I'm playing with my mountains and forest die cuts, arranging them to create the landscape that I like. I'm not showing how to stamp the layer tulip field in this video. Please refer to the previous episode of the color layering series to learn how to stamp the color layering tulips. It's very easy and you're going to love it. Now, I've used a piece of washi tape to temporarily secure the die cuts together. I've also stamped and die cut 2 houses from the color layering lavender field stamp set. I want to add a stone house to this scene, and now I'm just trying to figure out the best placement. I also have 2 panels of cardstock. This is Mist from Hero Arts, and those panels will represent the sky and the water for this card. My plan is to stamp the sentiment on the water panel and add the house in front of the lake. The coordinating dies also cut additional panels. There's 1 additional panel for the forest, I'm not using that today, and 1 additional panel for the mountains or the hills. I've cut the hills from Hero Arts sand cardstock, and to add some color and definition, I'm using my Copic markers in E31 and E33. This will add some simple shading to the die cut and will help define the hills. It's a simple trick, yet very effective to add some much needed definition to this die cut. I will layer the tulip field over it and will add that stone house to set the scene. Next, I ink blended, or rather dabbed, some white ink onto the panel that will represent the sky. I shared this technique in my previous video. It's a neat trick to soften the cardstock color and add barely visible clouds to the scene. I also added the same ink blending to the water panel to mimic waves. Now I'm using glue and adhering all of the separate components down to create a card front. I've first added the sky panel. Next, added the panels with the mountains and the forests. I trimmed the excess mountain and adhered it on the other side of the panel to have more mountains on this card. Next, I'm adding the panel that represents the lake. It overlaps the forest die cut just slightly, and now I can add the hills die cut and the tulip field die cut. The house die cut isn't adhered just yet, and I can still play around with the placement a bit. I trimmed the panel down to even out the edges on both sides, and now I'm stamping the waves on the water panel using Hero Arts Embossing and Watermark ink. Now the waves won't show much in the finished card, but they will add subtle detail to my scene and will make the water look a little bit more real. I've also already adhered the house, and all that is left to do now is stamp the sentiment. For this card, I'm using one that reads "Greetings from my happy place," and I'm stamping it in Hero Arts Intense Black ink. I'm also going to add that other little house in front of the big house and stamp some seagulls flying in the sky. Here's the look at the finished card. I adhered the panel onto A2 white side-folding card base made from Hero Arts Dove white cardstock. My second card was finished in the same way, and if you look closely, you'll notice that I used only 1 tulip field die cut for both cards. The card with the fisherman has the top part of the tulip field die cut, and the other card has the bottom part of that same die cut. These cards were an absolute pleasure to make, and I'm looking forward to using the color layering mountains at the lake stamp set with the other Hero Arts stamp sets from my stash. I can see making stunning scenes all year round and not just scenes by the lake. There are a lot of stunning card ideas featuring this stamp set on the Hero Arts blog, and I encourage you to check those out if you're looking for more inspiration. Just look for the July My Monthly Hero Countdown posts on the Hero Arts blog. And as always, have fun stamping. I hope this video has given you some stamping ideas to try with your color layering stamp sets from Hero Arts. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.